Alright, so in this set of notes we're going to talk about Julius Caesar and the end of the Roman Republic. Remember, Rome's history is divided up into two parts, the Republic and the Empire. So this is the end of that first part. Julius Caesar and the end of the Republic. Alright, here are some pictures of Julius Caesar. If Romans wanted to show respect for someone, they showed him as old and wrinkled because they really valued that age that people had. So we can see Caesar here with the wrinkled lines on his forehead. He does not look so great, partly because this is really old, but even in this new one, we can see that he has some age to him, which shows that he was respected by the people who made this. Julius Caesar played a lot of different roles in his lifetime, and he's known for a number of them, and the first of those is a politician. Caesar was born around 100 BCE to an aristocratic family, so he was a patrician. He rose up in the ranks in Roman politics and eventually was elected consul. Remember, consuls are the two guys that the Senate has to talk to before they do anything, and they're the ones with veto power. He is known as part of the first triumvirate, tri being three, like a triangle. And it was made up of three rulers: Caesar, a guy named Pompey, and another guy named Crassus. We're going to talk a little bit more about Pompey and Crassus is not particularly important. But the three of them basically run things in Rome for a while. Here's a coin that shows Caesar with his wreath showing his importance. Romans, if they thought you were important, they put you on a coin, kind of like how we do today with our presidents. His second role was as a general. He was a great military leader, and he did most of his fighting in Gaul, which is modern-day France. If you wanted to get ahead in the Roman military, you had to win battles. It was by showing your ability to win battles that you advanced in your military career. He takes command in Gaul, modern-day France. He conquers the Celts. We associate Celtic culture with Ireland, usually today, maybe Scotland. He fought the Germanic tribes. Those are the people who become Germans, and later we'll talk about how they came and attacked Rome. And he invaded Britain, so he went across the channel, the water between France and England, and he invaded there as well, and helped push the Roman Republic to its furthest reaches in the north. Because he was such a popular general, people began to see him as a political threat. They knew he had a lot of backing of former soldiers. Crassus died. Now Caesar and Pompey are fighting for control of Rome. And Caesar has the advantage of being very popular with the lower classes. The plebeians really like him because he's not afraid to implement reforms that help them. Remember, they are the vast majority of the population in Rome. So even though they don't have as much power, there's a whole bunch of them. He is ordered by the Roman Senate to give up his army and return to Rome, which he does not want to do, and we'll watch a video about that in class. So he refuses to give up his power. He marches on Rome, and he takes his army across a river called the Rubicon. And today the phrase crossing the Rubicon, like Caesar did when he decides to invade his own home, basically, means making a decision that cannot be undone. And that's what this really is for Caesar. He makes a decision that he cannot go back on. He takes all of Italy, he defeats Pompey, and he is basically in control of Rome now. And he is said to have said the famous phrase, Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I conquered. Here's an artist picture of him crossing the Rubicon. Here are Roman soldiers holding what are called the standards. The standards were these poles that you carried into battle that showed on the top who you were and who you were fighting for. Lastly, Julius Caesar, well, not lastly. Julius Caesar is the first person to try to become dictator for life. He forces the Senate to elect him dictator for life. Rome is about to have a civil war. Remember, some people supported Pompey, some people supported Caesar. Caesar won. There are a lot of problems in Rome during this time. There's a problem with inflation. That means money is worth less. It also means there's more of it, but it's not worth as much, so people are unhappy. Farmers are losing their jobs because there are so many slaves that the slaves are taking all the jobs on the farms, and the farmers are moving to the cities where they can't find work. Things are kind of a mess in Rome at this period. And he says, put me in charge. I will calm everything down, but I need to be in charge for life. He gets more and more power. In order to make more people on his side, he expands Roman citizenship. More people are able to become citizens. And he adds senators in the Roman Senate from loyal provinces. So people outside of the old boundaries of Rome, which was the only place that people were able to serve in the Senate from before. Now people from Gaul, people from Britain, if you're loyal to Caesar, he will appoint you a senator. So you are incentivized to be on his side. He makes a lot of changes while he's in charge of Rome. He starts public works to create jobs because unemployment is very high and people need things to do. So the government is going to pay for things to be built so that people can have jobs. He founds colonies. He finds new places and he says, hey, poor people, you can come live in this colony. We'll give you some land. You can work it. It's an opportunity for a better life. He gives away free grain. People are starving. So getting free food is going to make people much more loyal to him. And he implements the Julian calendar, named for Julius Caesar. It is a solar calendar. It's based on the movement of the sun rather than a lunar calendar based on the movement of the moon. And this is the calendar that we use today. Julian, Julius, July. Our month July is named for Julius Caesar. So what happens? Remember, the Romans do not like kings. They had set up their whole government basically to avoid having a king. And now Caesar has declared himself dictator for life. So you can imagine that despite the good things he's doing, this does not go over very well with the people. People are afraid he is going to become basically a king. And the people who are especially afraid of this are the patricians, because they have the most to lose from Caesar becoming a king. Roman law says anyone who plots to become a king can be killed without a trial. You don't have to try that person. You can't really get in trouble for killing him. You can go and kill someone if they have a plot to become a king. And this is what happens. On March 15th, 44 BC, or BCE, Caesar is stabbed to death by the Roman senators. And we will talk a lot more about this in class. March 15th, this date, is known as the Ides of March. So if you ever hear someone say, beware the Ides of March, that's what they're talking about. Don't get yourself killed. Here he is being pummeled to death or stabbed to death by the Senate. Caesar's death marks the end of the Roman Republic, and it lays the foundation for the beginning of the Roman Empire. A second triumvirate of people, a second group of three, takes over control of Rome. It's made up of a guy named Octavian, who's very young, and he was Caesar's adopted nephew. It was very common in Rome for people to adopt people even when they were adults. It just meant that person inherited your stuff and your title. So he was Caesar's adopted nephew. Mark Antony, who was a friend of Caesar's for much of his life, and Cleopatra had affairs with both Caesar and Mark Antony. And Marcus Lepidus, who he's like the Crassus of this triumvirate. We don't really care about him. These guys go out and defeat Caesar's assassins. They are going to avenge his death. They do it. They hunt them down. They kill them, and they split up the Republic. They say, I'm going to control this. You're going to control that. You're going to control that. Lepidus is forced into retirement. Whatever. Antony marries Cleopatra. Good for him. Octavian declares war on Antony. He says, I don't need to share power. I'm going to defeat this guy, and I am going to become the head of Rome. Octavian does that. He successfully defeats Antony at a battle called the Battle of Actium, and Actium is a naval battle where Cleopatra and Antony fight Octavian. When it becomes clear that they are going to lose, they run away, and Octavian takes control and becomes the first emperor of Rome. He changes his name when he becomes emperor, and he takes the name Augustus, like the month August. Something that is august is something that is great and strong and wonderful, and those are the things that he really wants to embody. He wants to be august. That is the end of your notes on the fall of the Republic. We will have a quiz on these notes in class next time, and in the next week we will have a long quiz quest on Rome so far as we enter the second half of our study of Rome.